Speaking of Rush Limbaugh, this is also fascinating. As you know, Hurricane Irma is headed to Florida. It's not clear where at this point, where it's going to, is it going to hit the east coast of Florida? Is it going to hit the west coast? Is it going to diminish? But as it stands as of, well, today and last night, it was a Category 5 storm with winds exceeding 185 miles per hour. It's the strongest storm on Earth so far in 2017. It's one of the strongest ever recorded in the Atlantic. It has already hit islands in the Caribbean. It is headed towards Puerto Rico, which, contrary to the impression you would get if you watched any major news outlets, and certainly if you listen to Rush Limbaugh, is part of the United States. And they're looking at the potential of electricity being out for 6 months. This is a country, this is an island, right? They're not a state. They're not a country. They're just basically a colonized island of over 3 million people. And apparently just not worthy of coverage until it hits the Florida Keys. Meaningful coverage. But the pictures that are coming in now from a couple of these Caribbean islands is pretty devastating. Here is Rush Limbaugh talking about how this is all sort of just hyperinflated. Why? Because he wants to create in his audience's mind, he wants to outline the model of the whole climate change hoax. Here he is.
The reason that I am leery of forecasts this far out, folks,
pause it. Now, note, he says this on Monday, correct? On Monday's show? Or is this on Tuesday's show even? And by that point, maybe he's doing it on that day. On Tuesday. Is that possible? He said this on Tuesday. So this is when it's almost already hit, not quite hit the Caribbean islands. I mean, this thing is going to have impact. And understand, if you've got a hurricane of this size, it's only a couple of days away, to not put everybody on notice is almost criminally negligent. When I got a buddy in Pensacola, and I said, I just looked at the trajectory this morning, and the models are showing it not crossing to the inside of the Gulf and going up there and hitting you guys. So it looks like you might be okay. And his response was, and they understand hurricanes down there. His response was, yeah, so far so good. However, Ivan was also predicted to go north, came into the Gulf, wiping out most of my hometown. Fingers crossed. The chances of someone's hometown, and it's already happened in the Caribbean, getting wiped out, it's pretty high. So certainly some of Rush Limbaugh's audience, if they are in any way emboldened to stay put and not take precautions, not listen to the mandatory evacuations of the Florida Keys, for instance. This guy, I mean, I know how he gets away with it, but let's listen.
The reason that I am leery of forecasts this far out, folks, is because I see how the system works. So there is a desire to advance this climate change agenda. And hurricanes are one of the fastest and best ways to do it. You can accomplish a lot just by creating fear and panic. You don't even need the hurricane to hit anywhere. All you need is to create the fear and panic accompanied by talk. that climate change is causing hurricanes to become more frequent and bigger and more dangerous, and you create the panic, and its mission accomplished, agenda advanced. Now, how do you do this? Well, in a number of ways. Let's take South Florida television, for example. There is a symbiotic relationship between retailers and local media, and it's related to money. It revolves around money. You have major industries and businesses which prosper during times of crisis and panic, such as a hurricane, which could destroy or greatly damage people's homes, and it could interrupt the flow of water and electricity. So what happens?
So you have Rush Limbaugh basically saying that the reason why people are freaking out about a Category 5 hurricane. Now, I don't know if he's claiming that this is made up, that it's really not a Category 5 hurricane, or that meteorologists are fabricating models, or that you can never know. This thing could just totally disappear. I mean, I don't know what it is his audience thinks he's saying here. But he's going at great lengths to try and create a metaphor by, hey, sometimes they say it's going to rain, and it doesn't. And they say it's going to rain because they want to sell umbrellas. Just like they say the planet's warming because they want to sell carbon credits, or Al Gore wants to get a new jet.
You should trust corporations at absolutely all times, except there's this really deep corruption in the capitalist system when it comes to climate science.
Yeah, and he doesn't care that there is some percentage of his audience, and I don't know what the numbers would be, but let's just say it's 10 people who are going to hear and be very skeptical about this. And I'm not going out. I'm not listening to the mandatory evacuation. I'm not going to listen to any of that stuff. And they're going to, maybe they're not going to batten down the hatches in their house. I mean, who knows what it is they're going to do to react to this. And the thing is, he will not pay a price for this. I guarantee you. There is no mechanism. This is the thing that people don't understand. There's no mechanism for a Rush Limbaugh audience rebellion. There isn't. They're older. Radio does not allow you to have that type of feedback and pushback. He's completely sequestered. He screens his calls. There are people who do that in this space, too. I'm not going to take any calls. I'm going to block people on Twitter if I hear any criticism, whatnot. But he's that times 10, right? So he will get no pushback on this. It's incredibly just irresponsible. And it's sadistic. And it's also ironic for a guy who gets money from the NRA, let's say, who to talk about the exploitation of panic, to talk about exploitation of sales. The entire conservative movement is built on that dynamic. The gays are coming. The Muslims are coming. The Jews are going to replace us. They're coming for your guns. I mean, that's his every dollar he's ever made. You better get gold. The hyperinflation is coming. I mean, every dollar he's probably ever made in his life is somehow tied towards creating fear in people.
Yes.
And exploiting the fear of people.
I just had an image of Jeff Sessions when you said that, being like, oh, yeah, the next president is going to need to be a lot more racist than Donald Trump. If you feel the way I did about race, and you see that little Jewish bastard with that beautiful girl, and you a president who does not give his daughter to a Jew,
we're going to need
Jew
someone
will not replace
us.
Oh, a lot more racist.
Hi, folks. Sam Seder here. We still need your help on our Patreon page. YouTube ads have come back, but not nearly as much as we had before. So if you can help us out, any little bit helps. Head over to our Patreon page right at this URL, and you'll help us keep helping you by making videos